Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. Really interesting chat today with a leader in the network as a service space, where everyone knows what as a service means, but the network is now being delivered in new and innovative ways. Carl, how are you?
Great. How about you?
Couldn't be better. Thanks for joining on this Friday. We made it through another week. Maybe introduce yourself and how do you describe Join Digital to folks, to customers these days?
Sure. So, my name's Carl May. I'm co-founder and CEO. I've been at this for a very long time, both going back into the 80s. I was an engineer, involved in a number of fairly significant innovations in technology, including one that I keep on my desk. This is the 29th broadband cable modem ever manufactured. So
that looks very familiar.
So I was the Land City. I ran that business once it was acquired by Bay Networks, and was involved in early interactive television, and so have a long history in networking. Join was formed about 6.5 years ago with a single focus that arose from discussions that we were having with large customers that I had cultivated through previous companies. And the message was, okay, it's taken a while, maybe a decade or more, but we're comfortable using AWS for compute and for compute and storage. We're okay developing applications there. We're okay running large parts of our infrastructure, storing data, mission critical data or sensitive data. How come nobody's ever taken enterprise networking, at least campus and branch networking, where there'd been very little innovation since the 90s when Ethernet really consolidated its position as the standard for all enterprise networking, switched to Ethernet, I should say. And, how come nobody's used this advent of, merchant hardware and simplified the boxes? We have to buy 10 boxes or 12 boxes and turned it into a cloud service. And so the mission for Join when we formed the company was to replicate delivering enterprise and campus and branch networking as a cloud service. And so the idea was, no charge by the user, not by boxes or ports. Charge in some cases with real estate owners, we charge by square foot, but charge by user. It's a subscription service. It can scale up, it can scale down depending on a customer's needs. And so ultimately, that's really what the foundation is of what we do. More during the pandemic, there are a number of other special services we added in as we discovered that when you control the network in a building or in an office, it's very easy to augment. It's not just providing connectivity to a computer, right? It's not just this. You can connect IoT devices. And so early in the pandemic, we built what we call our extensible data engine, and we provide to this date workplace analytics to our clients. And so anyway, but fundamentally, our business is we're doing our best to disrupt the old order of the networking vendors that we all know.
Fantastic. Well, it's a phenomenal proposition. And for us who've been in the industry like yourself, building, selling, managing, deploying, servicing networks, it's a pretty radical approach. So how does it work exactly? How does your as a service network model work, from beginning to end?
A typical engagement starts a customer. So we kind of focus on 6 or 7 verticals: high tech, biotech, life sciences, financial services, pharmacy, or professional services, energy, media, and now automotive. So a customer will come to us and say, "Hey, I've got 100 people in a remote office. We don't have any." So the second part of the proposition is, that I always ask when I'm talking to, particularly the legacy competitors, is how do you sell to a customer when there are no IT people to actually operate what you're selling them, right? And that's our story is you don't need anybody. And so what happens is a VP of finance or VP of workplace strategy will come and say, "Hey, we need to create a 100-person branch office or 200-person branch office. These are our requirements. Can you provide a bid?" And so we do that. Our advantage is that we've got this down enough, I guess, operationally smooth enough that we can turn around a deployment in anywhere from, let's say, 10 or 20 to 30 days. And we deliver it completely as a service. So we do all the deployment. We have partners that do all the installation, all the deployment. Mm. We operate it. We interface with the security requirements of the customer. We have playbooks and partnerships with the relevant security, the network security and endpoint security vendors so that we can integrate with them. But the idea is then, the customer pays us a small upfront fee, and then the subscription when the service goes live, and if they start at 40 people and grow to 50 people, there's a change. If they start at 60 and decrease to 45, there's another kind of a change. And I think that is particularly when we talk to finance executives, they find the fact that they're no longer having to figure out how to depreciate the capital they purchase and manage support contracts and things like that. That's all bundled in, all as part of the service.
Fantastic. So beyond the obvious economic, financial benefits, which aren't trivial, I imagine there are other benefits that network as a service can bring from traditional setups in terms of managed services, the cloud managed operations. What are some of the maybe more intangible benefits?
Well, there are a couple of things. So there are a couple of things I'll talk about that might actually be customer facing, and then there are those that are behind the scenes, but behind the green curtain, I guess. We'll invoke the Wizard of Oz here. The ones that are visible is that obviously our behaviors have changed. Look, you and I are on. Well, you're not. We're using a much fancier application here. But think about how many hours a day we spend on Zoom or Teams or Google Meet or whatever it might be, WebEx. And the reality is our in-office and in-home, I happen to be sitting at home today, but our in-office and in-home technology utilization has changed materially. It had already been changing prior to the pandemic, but the pandemic accelerated a lot more of these virtual meetings. And so that also has put brand new stresses on the network. I got a notification when I logged into to the application for you saying, "Hey, we'd rather have you plug into Ethernet because it's more robust." And by the way, about 40% of our customers still have a lot of Ethernet connections directly to their desktop. So there's that it's not going away. I think ultimately, in terms of customer facing, finding ways to integrate with these applications like Teams and Zoom, with the AV rooms where people are doing collaborative meetings and so forth, where we're really providing that as a service to that Zoom or Team service is one thing, and that's more customer facing. So making that completely seamless so that it works. You just walk into the room, you click, you connect, and you're able to use the service. Those are some fit and finish developments that we've really focused on over the last few years. Behind the scenes, we had always believed that the conventional way of managing a network of command line interface configuration and SNMP, I shouldn't use stupid jargon terms, but traditional trap management for
Yeah, we love our four-letter acronyms in networking, don't we? Yes.
Sure. Yes, exactly. And so, network, the traditional network management protocols were really no longer useful, in particular in an as a service model, where we're only going to stay in business if the uptime is really good and we're not rolling a truck every time there's an outage, right? So you think a lot about operational efficiency. And so from day one, we were already doing a lot to include using big data. We sensorize our deployments with we're monitoring environmental issues. We're actually monitoring performance of the network as if we were a user. We create virtual users and so forth just to understand how things are going. And so we collect billions of data points a day. So big data was always a part of what we were doing to provide operational excellence, so that our customers would have an outstanding experience. And so today, we've now begun to train all that data on large language models. And what we're finding is it's giving us much better insights into, hey, when there was an incident, when somebody was having difficulty connecting with a particular access point or whatever it might be, or there was an Ethernet problem for an IoT device or for a building system, we can actually learn, or our systems are beginning to learn from it. So I'm always a little more cautious about using the term AI than others are that seem to throw it out with every third or fourth word. But we are in fact using machine learning / AI as a tool set to improve the operations of, in particular for observability. So we have a very, very good idea of user behavior, anomalous behavior. There's quite a bit actually of security related data that we collect as well, and we share that with our security partners.
Wow. Fantastic. So when it comes to network performance and reliability, and customer support, what's different than a traditional IT service provider, let's say, in what you can offer or the ways you can support them, for example?
That's a good question. So first of all, we think of ourselves, we're really the technology company. And so we ultimately will be developing, we're doing our first set of partnerships with MSPs now that are taking us to market. We're collaborating with them.
I see.
Our view, one of the fundamental shifts is who owns the failure, right? Mm-hmm. And the big difference in delivering network as a service or compute as a service, right? If AWS is down, AWS owns the failure. If S3 is down, S3 owns the failure. If whatever. And I think the big difference is that Cisco doesn't own the failure if all of a sudden your Catalyst switch stops working or your Meraki access.
You better be under maintenance contract.
You better be under maintenance, and more importantly, or equally importantly, you better have people there that can go online and sort of work through the error messages and figure out what exactly just happened. And so I think that there's another significant cognitive shift here, which is that we're responsible for figuring out. We are motivated to eliminate sources of failure or error in the network, which is why we've taken everything and integrated it both vertically and horizontally. So we're kind of, there's a couple of different analogies we could use. Southwest Airlines, we use pretty much the same standard Broadcom base. We use Broadcom silicon for our switches. We use Qualcomm silicon for the access points. The idea is that everything can be easily spared. If there's a failure, we use the same optics for interfaces. But what we're doing is we're also learning the behavior of all of those devices or systems, And so again, going back to this, I think this important distinction is that we own something goes wrong, we own it. We don't just tell you, oh, go push a button and push reset, because we know that in probably 90% of our deployments, there's nobody there that can actually do that. So that's a distinction.
Planning for the best case or worst case, depending on how you look at it. And how do you handle things like upgrades and patches and point releases or new technology? That's hard for an SME or any company really to stay on top of, as we've seen again.
It's hard. It's hard for Fortune 500s too, but yeah.
Right. Good point. So you have a technology roadmap, and you're obviously pushing the boundaries of that. How does that work?
Well, let's start with let's break down the question into the constituent parts. So number one, just like when you've got a sales force, we have maintenance windows on typically, I think they're like 10 p.m. Pacific to 8 a.m. Pacific or 8 a.m. Eastern, I guess, on weekends, so Fridays and Saturdays. And that's when we do major patches. So we push out, the power of a model where all of we have all these edge data centers in the United States, Canada, Japan, and in the UK and Ireland, which are the markets that we currently serve. And so we have a centralized distribution of patches. So those could be, we can isolate it if it's an individual problem we're recognizing in one location. We can isolate it to that one location. We can do that ad hoc, but then our regular scheduled maintenance is done centrally. And so that's just a really good. Those are best practices that companies have learned from the Salesforces of the world and Workdays and others, and frankly Amazon over the years. So there's that part of it. The second part, obviously, is technical or technological obsolescence, and obviously we run into so many. Frankly, at the bigger companies, we run into so many deployments where you walk in and you say, "Wow, you're running a product that has been end of life for 5 or 7 years, and no wonder you're having issues." And so consequently, the join model is that as part of the long-term subscription, we refresh the hardware. So if I don't know the exact statistics right now, a couple hundred sites that we have, but I'm going to guess that we've probably already gone through at least one. We've gotten through at least one, and in some cases two refresh cycles in 6.5 years. And so the idea is that as the physical technology also evolves, as we evolve from Wi-Fi 5 to Wi-Fi 6 to 6E, based on what customers want. Now Wi-Fi 7, that'll be the second half of this year. That's all part of the subscription. So we have a plan. We have our own internal cloud operations team. Inside the cloud operations team is a network operations team that goes through and plans out over quarters all of these, the needs, because we're also looking at utilization. And as you start seeing people with changes in utilization, we may accelerate certain upgrades just based on that.
Wow, really interesting approach. What about security requirements? Are those something you sort of commit to as part of the engagement, or is there additional security layer you provide on top? What does that look like?
Yeah, so from the beginning, we embraced zero trust network access. So this was 2018. And I think there was maybe one other, maybe Zscaler was talking about it. I don't think a lot of other people were talking about it, but our view of the world, because my co-founders and the engineering team. Most of the core architecture and engineering team has been with me for up to 20 years, which just shows that they have poor judgment. But we're all a bunch of longtime networking people. And one of the things that we learned with our last company was that the value of the SDN, the emergence of software-defined networking, as the security benefits we learned from that, we carried a lot of those forward with Join. So there's a lot that we've built into service isolation. Other companies are, that's all they do, but for us, that's a feature that's elemental to the architecture. In terms of auto discovery, we don't, we do not automatically. We don't let somebody plug in their own router and send out ARP requests to figure out, hey, what's going on here? Can I get a DHCP? Can I get an IP address assigned to me? We don't allow that, right? This is a very locked down environment. The idea is that's part of our security. On the IoT and OT front, we have developed our own security solution in-house that we provide for IoT and OT. We also have, as I think is at the beginning, we have relationships with Palo Alto and Zscaler. Actually, I think probably the number one vendor we were, the two top ones are Zscaler and Palo Alto Networks, where we've got it, and we just announced a partnership with Cato about 2-3 months ago. But we've built playbooks that allow our customers to have policies where the policies they've established with Palo Alto or Cato or whoever it might be to be inherited. Bring back some object-oriented programming, but they're inherited by our network, and so we then are in some ways a proxy for the whatever the security policies are that the chosen, the corporate security solution offers.
Got it. Sounds pretty flexible. So you mentioned a few verticals that you've had particular success in. Can you talk about those a little more? Maybe some customers that allow you to mention them, or where are you finding traction?
Yeah, so we have a number of customers. I mean, in the high tech, financial services, high tech, we have a number of, we have customers like ServiceNow and Oracle and NetApp and others from the high tech arena. We have even, I'm trying to remember, I'm pretty sure Elasticsearch, but I mean, there's a number of customers like that we have that most of which is for branch office services. And then we've got others in financial services, banks, hedge funds, big insurance companies like Northwestern Mutual, where we've had very, very good success in terms of providing them with a standard solution that they can deploy uniformly. And so I will say, though, over the last 6 months, maybe a little bit more than 6 months, we've seen our real surprise has been the life science, so biotech companies or drug development companies. That has been probably the fastest growing vertical for us over the last, easily over the last.
Well, certainly a lot of that is
2 to 3 quarters.
Woods here in Boston and Cambridge.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we probably added 8 or 10 such companies just in Boston, just in Q1 and thus far in Q2. So yeah,
I can see all the construction happening as we speak, and you're doing a phenomenal job, but you're battling tech giants that we all know who have collectively billions of dollars in marketing and sales budgets. How does that feel? Is it ever overwhelming thinking about that, or does a couple percent of the market mean you're more than happy?
I think that does it feel overwhelming? I don't think it feels so overwhelming because, frankly, I'm a longtime Silicon Valley person, and so we wouldn't have a lot of companies if some. As a matter of fact, one of the companies I often, while I did talk about Southwest Airlines, I think when you look at what we've done in terms of the breakaway from traditional networking, probably, and there aren't a lot of people old enough anymore to even know what the hell I'm saying, but Sun Microsystems back in the early 80s was essentially a Stanford University project with 4 founders, and they had a very similar sort of vision. It was like, hey, we got this generic computing. You got big mainframes. You got some minis, and then the emerging personal computer. And what they said was, we can actually build a special purpose compute solution. We're going to use everything standard, right? We're going to use Ethernet for our networking. We're going to use VME for our. We're not going to use any proprietary. You can stick any third-party card in the backplane. We're going to use Berkeley Unix. I mean, that's a bit of a religious choice, but we're going to use Unix as the operating system. Where everything is open, and I think I competed with them. I was at Silicon Graphics as opposed to Sun, but I think that both those two companies were examples of groundbreaking companies. I mean, you talk about daunting, focusing on a customer set that was unserved, not just underserved, but unserved by IBM or DEC or Hewlett Packard, the HP 3000, was just completely unserved. And so, yes, sure, it's always tough, but the creative destruction that is really at the heart of what Silicon Valley has been good at for 70 years or so, 60, 70 years, is what I think keeps us going. Yes, there are always challenges. We have to define where we're going to be strong. But as it turns out, I think there's, with changing appetites among buyers, that's actually driving a lot of the demand that we're seeing.
Fantastic. Well, love the optimism. And of course, you're in the heart of Silicon Valley in Palo Alto, so you wouldn't have it any other way. So
that's right. Yeah.
In summer now, what's on your agenda the next few weeks? I imagine a little slower with networking events and marketing events, or what are your plans?
Well, let's see. We actually are, excuse me, we're closing a very significant deal, which we believe will probably be the template for sort of a new vector of growth for us. And so I think we've already done it a couple of times. So we've now done our first couple of major corporate replacements. So where we've gone in for those incumbents with the billions of dollars, we've actually taken them all out, like for a 4,000 or a 6,000, 7,000 person headquarters.
Yikes,
and we're doing one right now that is a mess. It's a mess of a heterogeneous, historical, and so we think that there's a lot that we can. We think that it's a good example of what most companies face, and so as we continue to take on bigger and bigger tasks, we'll do that. And then, other than that, I think I'm gonna try to get away for a couple weeks in August and see if I can and sleep through the night.
Well, sounds exciting, and so much opportunity there to reinvent and refresh the network. Congratulations on all the success.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. It was great spending time with
Carl. You. Thanks everyone for watching. Reach out to Join Digital. You have some great content on your website and your handle, so it really caught my attention. Thanks.
Thank you.
Continue the good work. All right, everyone. Take care.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.